have chosen to initiate a divorce. The house and the automobile are mine to keep. I know that this is a difficult moment, and even though I may have come out as compassionate, my remarks actually have a stronger edge than I meant. I could never have imagined the level of sorrow caused by the smile that accompanied these comments. I was ill. How could he choose to go at that moment? We not to take on life's obstacles together. I'm crying because I'm so shocked by his harsh comments and icy attitude. I just can't forgive him. I am determined to make him feel the misery he has caused me, despite my physical weakness. I am starting a new chapter of retribution in my life with this vow. I'm Natalie, and I've dedicated my 42 years of life to being a loyal housewife and providing unwavering support for my family. My husband Bruce and I used to have such a wonderful time together that time appeared to stand still. It was like bright, colorful candy every day. Bruce's kind demeanor and amiable smile immediately put me at ease when we first met through a common friend, making it simple for me to open up to him. I loved every second of our early days together and looked forward to spending as much time as possible with you. Though it's hard to imagine now, our love used to be genuine and profound, full of hopes for a future together. Living with him was like living in a dream. Every day was bright, and I thought our smiles would never fade. But as time went on, Bruce started to alter, probably due to stress from his hard work. Because he had not pursued higher education or qualifications, which would have limited his job options, his pay was not large. I repeatedly advised him to look into getting a new job, but he consistently balked, saying he was happy where he was. Even though we were financially stable and I was working full-time, I was still worried about what would happen if we decided to have a kid or if I fell ill and was unable to work. I reasoned that it could be helpful if Bruce also secured a steady employment to allay these concerns. An HR department buddy of mine once told me about an administrative position that was open. I knew Bruce found his current job situation tough, so this seemed like the ideal opportunity for him to better it. It didn't require any specific qualifications, just a basic skill set. I was thrilled to propose the role to him, believing it would be a fantastic chance. But Bruce came back with a surprising lack of warmth and defensiveness. Why do you decide things about my work without consulting me? I picked the location I am in now. Are you suggesting that there's a problem with it? I was surprised at how he responded. I hadn't meant to question his decisions. I'd simply brought it up out of concern for his future and well-being. I tried to explain my motives and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you with my proposal. I just thought the conditions at your current job seemed tough, and maybe this company would be a better fit for you." However, it wasn't how he saw it. He shot back almost as if he were speaking to a stranger rather than his spouse, saying, "Just because you're my wife doesn't mean you can interfere in my career decisions." The phrase, "as if you were a stranger," rang true in my head as he turned to leave. Since I am his wife, our family should function as a unit. However, it seemed as though his remarks and manner were aimed at someone else. There were other instances that contributed to the increasing distance that developed between us. His dealings with my family also reflected this strain. My mother was a really nice person who would frequently drop by our house while I was at work. As her way of taking care of us, she would cook and clean, leaving delicious meals in the refrigerator. I was quite appreciative of her work and kept asking her to come over for supper. But of late, Bruce had grown distinctly irritated with her presence. His annoyance was evident when he would return home to discover her in the living room, which widened the already expanding rift between us. When Bruce abruptly said, "You're here again," my mother and I were both taken aback. It caused me to consider the status of our union and our shared future. How are we supposed to bridge the growing gap between us? With a gentle smile, my mother responded, "It's all right, Natalie. If my presence makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. I'll leave earlier today." Hearing her say that broke my heart, especially knowing how she always went out of her way to help us despite her busy schedule. "Bruce, please think about how Mom feels," I implored, tears beginning to well up in my eyes, altering the mood in the room. I remembered all the times she had brightened our home and couldn't fathom why Bruce would address her in such a manner. Bruce tried to explain his feelings, saying, "When I come home after working hard all day, all I want is to relax. It's exhausting to have someone else around all the time in my own house." I tried to see things from Bruce's perspective, but my appreciation for my mother's efforts made it difficult. It seemed to me that Bruce was just being stubborn, and I struggled to find a way to communicate my feelings in a manner he could understand. My mother, seeing the tension, reassured me, "Don't worry about it, Natalie. If everyone's happy, that's all that matters to me." Her comforting smile filled me with an overwhelming sense of guilt. That evening, as I savored the delicious meal she had prepared, my emotions were a mix of appreciation and remorse. I couldn't stop thinking about Bruce and how our relationship might be mended. Meanwhile, a new challenge emerged. One day at work, I suddenly felt dizzy and fainted. Thankfully, my colleagues acted swiftly, calling an ambulance and rushing me to the nearby hospital, where a series of medical tests began. Everything felt like a blur as my health took a sudden turn for the worse. I tried reaching out to Bruce, but he didn't respond. Then came the heavy diagnosis: cancer. Thankfully, it was caught early, and the doctors assured me that with the right treatment, I would recover. However, I was well aware of the grueling nature of cancer treatments and braced myself for a challenging journey ahead. I informed Bruce about my diagnosis and subsequent hospitalization, but his reaction was dishearteningly indifferent. His silence during this critical time made me feel incredibly isolated. Nonetheless, I resolved to focus on my treatment, believing that pushing forward was my only viable option. The treatment was even tougher than I had anticipated, my health rapidly declining and confining me to my hospital bed most of the time. Amidst this struggle, Bruce finally appeared in my hospital room one day. "How are you feeling?" he asked nonchalantly. "It's pretty rough," I replied, trying to inject some lightheartedness into the conversation. "It might have been a bit easier if you were by my side." Honestly, I was frustrated by his lack of presence. Why hadn't he come sooner? His support could have made a significant difference during these trying times. Instead of feeling relieved at our reunion, I felt even more isolated. Reflecting on our past only increased my irritation. Then Bruce dropped a bombshell that left me genuinely stunned. "I filed for divorce. I'll take the house and the car. I know it's tough, but hang in there. I don't know how much time you have left, but I hope you keep fighting." "Wait, are you serious?" I exclaimed, unable to hide my shock. "Divorce?" A storm of questions raged within me. Didn't we promise to always stay together? I had always believed that true couples would face challenges together. Bruce's words confused me and left me feeling completely detached. At that moment, a quiet resolve formed within me. "I don't need him anymore," I whispered to myself. "I'll move forward on my own. I'll just forget about him." I decided there and then that he would one day regret underestimating my strength and resilience. But first, I needed to end our relationship properly. "I get it. I'm sorry for everything." "Keep the house, keep the car," I said, relinquishing all ties with a sense of finality, ready to face the next chapter of my life on my terms. "Whatever you want." "If you need compensation money, I'll pay," I said with resignation. Bruce initially looked surprised, but quickly his expression turned into a smug smile. "I didn't expect you to accept it so easily." I thought you'd throw a tantrum. Anyway, take care of yourself, and don't bother inviting me to your funeral," he remarked coldly as he left the room. As he walked away, a smile spread across my face. He didn't realize that he had just fallen into my carefully laid trap. It was going to be interesting to see how his life would fold from here. I reached out to a colleague from a company I knew well. "Hello, long time no talk. I have a favor to ask. Can you help?" Initially surprised, my colleague hesitated, but after I explained the situation, he agreed. "All right, let's give it a try." Everything was set. I imagined Bruce's shocked and anxious face, and this vision brought a smirk to my face. This newfound sense of excitement even boosted my motivation to continue my medical treatments with renewed vigor. A few days passed, and one afternoon after my treatment session, I noticed that my cell phone had received 102 missed calls from Bruce. The thrill of waiting for his call was oddly satisfying. Once I calmed down, I called him back, and his shaky voice greeted me. "Natalie, help me." "I never expected this," he pleaded. Hearing his distress tone made me chuckle internally. This was exactly what I had planned. Trying to sound concerned, I asked Bruce, "Tell me what happened." He took a deep breath before replying, "My name's on the company's layoff list." "I can't believe this is happening." As I listened to his panicked voice, I smirked, knowing that everything was unfolding just as I had orchestrated. The person I contacted was the head of sales at our company. I had asked him to reconsider the business dealings with Bruce's company. Initially puzzled, he reviewed their transaction history and decided it was best to switch to a different partner. That's why Bruce's company started calling me. Deciding to twist the knife a bit, I revealed something I had kept to myself. "You know, there are rumors in your company about you and the new girl." "Everyone likes her," I said, dropping the hint with feigned nonchalance. This added layer was sure to unsettle him even more as my plan continued to unravel perfectly. "Because she's always so cheerful, there are whispers about an affair. Is that true?" I could hear disbelief in Bruce's voice. "Are you serious? You can't be serious. This has to be a joke." His surprise was understandable. After all, who would think an ordinary employee could wield such influence? "Well, actually," I continued, letting a pause hang to gauge his reaction, "I'm the CEO of this company." Silence fell on the other end of the line as Bruce tried to process the revelation. "It's no lie," I assured him. This was the reason we had been living so comfortably. "My annual income is around $5 million. Your regular salary wouldn't have been enough to support your lavish shopping habits." The truth was, Bruce's spending was exorbitant. The $2,500 monthly allowance he received from me functioned like a second salary, yet it was never enough for him. He often rushed to me with a pleading tone, asking, "Can I have a little more?" At this rate, the money he received from me might end up surpassing his actual salary. While most people would scale back to a more sustainable lifestyle, since I earned $5 million a year, giving Bruce a $2,500 allowance each month wasn't a big deal to me. However, I always wondered what he spent that money on. "Bruce, yesterday was payday, wasn't it?" I asked him, reminding him of our routine. "I've always given you extra money on payday, but that might be difficult from now on. We're not a couple anymore, and it's only natural that you can't expect that monthly allowance." I then cautioned him about the mortgage on the house. "Oh, and be careful with the mortgage. It's $3,800 a month. I know it'll be tough, but you'll need to manage it well. If you're late with the payment, you might have to leave the house." While a $3,800 loan wasn't a burden for me, it was a significant amount for Bruce. From his reaction, it was clear he was both confused and in disbelief, repeatedly muttering, "Really? Can this be happening?" His sense of security was visibly shaken, reflecting his newfound vulnerability. "And that's crazy," I said. What I said was the truth. "This is the result of my efforts to maintain our relationship," I expressed, reflecting on how Bruce took advantage of my presence, pursuing only his desires. Perhaps it was time for him to face the consequences of his actions. Why did it come to this? I've been laid off, and now I have to figure out how to get by. How am I going to pay the rent this month? The despair in his voice was palpable. He sounded lost and uncertain about his future. Imagining a brighter future seemed daunting. I understood that Bruce's situation was overwhelming and confusing, a direct result of his past actions and disrespectful behavior towards me and my family. If he had shown genuine care and respect, things might not have deteriorated to this point. This was the consequence of his choices. Bruce remained silent, perhaps at a loss for words. I felt a mix of pity and amusement at his predicament. Was this the end of our conversation? Could I hang up now? But just then he spoke again, his voice tinged with panic. "Wait, can we reconsider our relationship one more time? I know it sounds selfish, but I realize now how important you are to me." The idea of starting over with him made my heart race, not out of excitement, but due to the daunting prospect of revisiting all the pain he had caused. He continued, "I know I've been reckless lately, and I'm sorry I couldn't visit you in the hospital more often. But once you're better, let's go somewhere peaceful and have a relaxing time together. I want to see your smile again." His words were nostalgic, reminiscent of the promises he made when he proposed a life filled with laughter and happiness. Back then, I was so swept up by his charm that I jumped into the relationship without fully considering the consequences. Now, reflecting on married life and all that had transpired, the thought of returning to how things were seemed overwhelmingly complex and fraught with potential pain. It proved challenging to navigate our relationship, especially with Bruce's reckless spending habits. Maybe things might have worked out differently if I had understood him better. He cried out, "Natalie, I can't live without you," his voice getting softer. "I want to walk through life's obstacles with you at my side. Is it possible for us to restart one more time?" He spoke with a great deal of anguish and desperation in his voice. It was hard, in spite of the feelings, to trust him again after all that had transpired. "Just stop it now. We're through," I firmly said. "I can't go back. I've chosen a new route." His speech carried a hint of sadness, and I could see he truly wanted to make amends. "Please allow me to say one more thing. Natalie, you have my undying love. I'll be here if you ever decide to change your mind." Though I was moved by his remarks once, I had already made up my mind about our relationship and my future. I would never longer be swayed by his charming words. Enough already. Words like those are not going to win me over. Consider it. Have you not dated someone else? Shouldn't your attention be on her? Information from Bruce's workplace had informed me about his new relationship. His expressions of affection now sounded phony, like they were just expedient measures to win me back. The realization that he only reached out for help when he was in need and turned away when things got hard was frustrating. Our time together is over. Forget about me and spend time with her. I won't be contacting you, but feel free to get in touch with my attorney if you must. Bruce, look for yourself." He sounded earnest in his plea, but it was time to let him go. That was a result of his decisions, but it would probably make his life worse. I wanted him to be able to support himself because I had my own life to live. I hung up and changed my settings to prevent him from contacting me again after our talk. Bruce made multiple attempts to get in touch, but I stuck to my guns and decided to move on my own, according to my attorney. My lawyer honored my firm determination to keep personal information private. Then, unexpectedly, my attorney proposed that I pursue damages. Although I hadn't thought about it before, it now seemed like a reasonable avenue to get paid. I was aware that Bruce and his new partner were struggling financially because there had been long-standing rumors of his significant debt. I looked into his affair partner more and found that she had run away because of her financial difficulties. Her family was enraged when I contacted them, and they revealed that she was back home now, struggling to make ends meet. It was evident that decisions have repercussions, and they were now feeling them. In the meantime, I overcame cancer and recovered completely, which even took my physicians by surprise. Upon my return to the workplace, I discovered a note from the encouraging sales manager sitting on my desk. His kind remarks moved me to tears. Once word spread that I was back on my own, a few coworkers politely volunteered to